Welcome to The Secrets of Success. By following the proven techniques of the guests who appear on this series, you'll learn that even successful people run into detours and failures, and how you can apply their success techniques to change your life.
You're now listening to the most unique show on radio, the show dedicated to making you a success. Want smarter choices that will make or break your business? Listen to the advice of our guest, Tiffani Bova. Tiffani, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure.
Now, Tiffani, you've written a book, Growth IQ, just what we always consider IQ, dealing with businesses and growth. But you start out by saying we all want to grow our business, but growth and comfort never coexist. And I know I'm a naturally lazy person. I like to be comfortable, and I don't want people getting me out of my comfort zone. So tell us how we go about that if we don't like to be discomforted.
Yeah, so go right to the heart of it. Love it. Well, I would tell you that is a very true statement. I think that for me, what I tried to do in the book was really highlight the fact that growth is a thinking game in many ways. And when you start to reimagine how your company is going to grow in the future versus how it might be growing today, there is no doubt that you have to start changing some of those things that may have been tried and true in the past. And that's where that discomfort comment came from. That change is uncomfortable for us as human beings, but ultimately when you run a business, it's what we have to do if we want to make sure we're going to be around 2 to 3 years from now.
And sometimes it's just nice knowing that someone makes that as a statement, because when people say to me, I'm uncomfortable or I don't like to do this, but that's what it takes to grow. It wasn't comfortable going to college or graduate school or medical school or law school. But if you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, you have to do those other things. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned that too many companies seek the one right move. And the one thing true is that it's never just one thing. Now, you have to think about that a little bit. Too many companies seek the one right move. But the one thing is, it's never just one thing. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so over the years of me advising businesses of all sizes around the globe, I can't tell you how many times I'd sit down with business owners or leaders of divisions or parts of the organization, and they'd say, I'm looking for what can I do right now to fix either the fact that we're starting to see sales slow, and I call it a growth stall in the book. We're starting to see this stall, or growth is just getting harder. And so what's the one thing we can do? Now, they wouldn't say it that way by saying what's the one thing, but they'd look at me and say, should we spend more marketing money? Should we hire more salespeople? Should we cut costs? They'd go down the list of things they've always done. And I would look at them and I would say, yes. And they'd say, well, which one? And I said, oh, do I have to pick? Because, ultimately, yes, it's not just one thing. And I don't want to say that as a way to overwhelm people who are listening by saying, oh, I'm trying to minimize the things I need to do. The key point, one of the key points in the book was that growth comes as a result of a combination of multiple actions, and then in a certain order. So the one thing may be one thing at a time in a certain order, or it be maybe one thing supported by something else. So I don't want you to think that I'm giving you this list of 100 things you need to do. I just want to be very clear that rarely is it just one thing.
No, I think that actually is a great point, because I guess we do think it's one or two things, and you're the expert, and it's just not one or two things. Now, the other thing we wind up doing, and this to me makes perfect sense, I think I'd make the same mistake, you say companies often rely on strategies that worked for them once or in the past. And that's kind of said like we shouldn't do that, but I would think the same way. If I could take a certain road to work and it's clear in the morning and there's not traffic, I'm going to take it again. If a certain strategy seems to work, or a sales strategy, I'm going to use that again. What's wrong with that? What about that is bad?
Well, it's not that it's bad, but that's comfortable. So let's go back to the first question, right? The way you drive to work is that's what you know, and you feel it's a safe road, and you know the traffic, and you're very aware of your surroundings, and you're comfortable taking that route. And when you decide to take another route, or maybe there's, road construction, to stay with your metaphor, right? There's road construction, you have to go another way. You're a little nervous. Am I going to be late? Am I going to be, is it going to take me longer? Is there a toll? You're asking all these questions of the unknown. And that's really that starting to stretch yourself to be uncomfortable. And when it comes to business, lots of times people will continue to go back to their muscle memory and sort of the DNA of how they built the company or what has always worked as a growth strategy in the past. But I think we can all agree that the market, the customer, technology, I mean, there's lots of things that are not the same as they were 12, 24, 36 months ago. So how could you possibly take the same road or path to growth if things are so different in the market, what I call context in the book? So that's why I say that doing the same thing, it's kind of the definition of insanity, but, doing the same thing and expecting the same results in today's market is getting much more difficult.
So I guess we have to either have an expert like you or really ask ourselves, just because it worked a year ago, will it work today? Because the market's changing. People are using the apps. They're using Uber, Airbnb. It's literally changing day by day, minute by minute. It may not work. Even though it was a good strategy a year ago, we have to kind of think through it and see if it's going to work with the changing environment. Is that a summary of it?
Yeah, that's absolutely a summary of it. And I would say that, you just have to ask the question, as you just said. You need to ask the question. It was working, and it may still be working today. The question is, will it be working 12 months from now? Some companies and some owners of very small businesses, even large enterprises, will say to me, we're growing, Tiffani. We don't have a problem. And I say, this is actually the time for any of your listeners that actually are in a situation where their company is, in fact, growing. This is the time to double down to make sure that you continue to grow and you can make investments that will pay off 12 to 24 months from now, than trying to course correct when you're in the middle of a slump and cash becomes much more tight.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Don't wait till that last minute and do it at the right time and get something happening. Now, you tell us that internal factors are cited as reasons when growth slows down. So that's internally in the business, and yet don't we control that?
Yes, and I have to say, I love that stat. It actually is from Bain & Company, and the study found that 85% of executives that they surveyed and a full 94% of those running companies with more than $5 billion, so very large organizations, said that internal, not external obstacles keep their companies from growing profitably.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what a shame, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it can be controlled. It isn't that something happened in the market, a new competitor came in, a new regulation was hit, or, so it was literally because of their own internal inertia.
So you just took away our best excuse. Darn the economy, darn the competition. I'm being nice by saying darn instead of some other words.
Yes.
But
yes.
We love those excuses. And if we want to be real, and good business people do have to be real, I guess you're saying we can't use them anymore.
I'm not saying they're not important or they may not have impact. And one of the key themes in the book is something I call context. And that's what's going on in the market. So you always have to keep an eye on those things I said. Are regulations changing? Is there a new competitor? Is there a new technology potentially displacing what you do today, or a new way to do what you do? Of course, you always need to keep a pulse on what's happening around your business. But the same level of rigor and research and understanding that many companies spend understanding external influences, as you just described, you need to spend equally as much time internally, if not more, because sometimes you can overcomplicate the business and make it more difficult for yourself to grow regardless of what's happening externally. So it's just a reflective reminder of making sure that taking enough time to evaluate and reevaluate many of the things you do in your own business today.
Tiffani, we'd just like to let our audience know that if you just tuned in, you're listening to The Secrets of Success. I'm your host, Bill Horan, on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College. And today we're speaking with Tiffani Bova, B-O-V-A. Her book is simply named Growth IQ. And if Tiffani, we're going to ask you, if someone's looking for the book, where can they get it? And is there a website that'll tell us more about the book?
Yeah, so you can get it at your local bookstores, Barnes & Noble and all the independents, as well as on Amazon.com and 800 CEO Read, as well as BarnesandNoble.com. And then if you want to find out more about me in the book, you can look it up on my website, which is TiffaniBova.com.
And if anybody missed that, as always, we'll ask Tiffani again for that information in the second part of the show. I would strongly say the book, Growth IQ, you're going to see in there, even if you're running a 1 or 2 person dentist office, a 5-person accounting office, or a 20-person law firm, there's ideas in there for you, and you're going to say, oh, my gosh, we're doing the same thing that international company did, that national, that regional company did. We're kind of on the way to making the same mistake. Ideas are going to come out. It's an interesting read. It's definitely not a hard one. And in between, there's a lot of case studies and examples given in a fun way, just like you're reading a novel. So it's not going to strain you a lot. If you're getting on an airplane, pick up a copy. As you're looking at it, you're going to save your business and probably turn it around. Now, Tiffani, you mentioned 10 typical growth paths. Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, and what I did and how I landed on 10 was, I did some homework before I wrote the book, obviously, not only from my own experience running sales, marketing, and customer service, and then advising companies, and now I happen to work at Salesforce. I didn't want to create a list of 190 ways to grow your business, right? Because someone's going to go, like, where do I even begin? So I wanted to make it something that was digestible. And so I came up with 10 growth paths, none of which people should read and go, oh, I never thought of that. It's really taking advantage of things that have worked historically and modernizing them to the 21st century and sort of all the things we have at our disposal, if you will, as it relates to technology and social and the cloud and the internet, et cetera. So I came up with 10. One is customer experience. One is customer base penetration, selling more to your existing customers, market acceleration, expanding into new markets, product expansion, customer and product diversification, optimizing your sales, minimizing losing customers, which I call churn, partnerships, coopertition, and the last one was unconventional strategies. So the listeners should find them fairly familiar, once again, whether you're a startup, a single-person office, or a multinational organization, all of these would apply.
Now, number 9 was something kind of you went by, but did I hear that right? Coopertition? You did. So you didn't just stutter. You said coopertition. I did. What is that? Come on, tell us. All right. So, the best example I can use that everyone seems to resonate with is think about a USB that you're able to plug into your home PC, your laptop, your car, on an airplane, right? That USB was a standard decision where competing PC manufacturers all had to agree that was going to be the standard. And so that is partnering with a competitor, i.e. cooperation, right? Working with somebody that you otherwise may view as a competitor. So today you see major car manufacturers partnering with Uber, car rental companies partnering with Lyft. You might say, well, wait a minute, isn't that competitive? Or airlines, that's another really great example where, if you fly on one airline and they're part of the One World Alliance, there's 7 other airlines that are part of it. You could claim that they compete, but in reality, they really give each other the ability where the two of them working together give the customer the opportunity to fly much more seamlessly anywhere in the world. So that's how I use cooperation, is really cooperate with market or industry leaders that may in fact be a competitor today. And Tiffani, if someone is saying, why should I listen to Tiffani Bova about this? What does she know about it? I just want our audience to know you are the global customer growth and innovation evangelist of Salesforce. Is that correct? That is correct. And I know that because I read it on the cover of your book. But that's very impressive. So you're actually out there doing this every day, and you see other companies doing it, and you're competing with them. I also grew up as a quota-bearing sales rep for about 10 years, 15 years selling technology, in verticals to small businesses, to legal law firms, so I sold very small deals to selling $1 million deals, and then I ran a division of Gateway Computers, if you remember Gateway Computers. So I've actually been a practitioner, and then I spent 10 years at Gartner Group with the analyst and consulting firm in the world, advising some of the largest companies on how they can do this very thing, right? Connect more better with their customers, sell more, market better, and really grow the business. And now in the last 2.5 years I've spent here at Salesforce, spending even more time with customers around the globe, really hearing what is working and what's not working, and really, more importantly, what customers are looking for, which is, I think, the way we need to view the business today. Tiffani, at this point in the show, we want to remind our listeners that you're listening to The Secrets of Success. My name is Bill Horan. The show is produced at the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. We'll be right back after this brief intermission.